Ravens went on the road and got a victory in a league where we've seen some crazy shit, Brad. And to go to Parker, we talked about the Ravens offense not being all fully together. You said about us not needing Derrick Henry because of the Gus the Bus. I mean,
Gus Bus. Give me the Gus Bus.
But
2.0.
But didn't you not start him in fantasy this week?
I did not start him in fantasy. However,
woof.
In my defense,
I did.
I do have Saquon Barkley and Alvin Kamara. So it's like, do I sit one of them for Gus Edwards? The answer is yeah. I absolutely do. Because you're a Ravens fan. That's why you have him on your team in the first place.
Yeah, you play all your Ravens over.
Always
play with your heart on your sleeve is what we've learned to do.
Correct.
Bet with your heart on your sleeve.
Yeah, it's the best way to do it.
And at the end of the day, the sun's going to set and the Ravens by 1 million.
Here's what I'll say about Gus too. One thing, I saw on Twitter, a lot of people on social media were like, well, to Parker's point, we have Gus. Why do we need, Derrick Henry? Why are we trying to so desperately to trade for a running back? And the thing of it is, if you put your GM hat on and you look at your depth chart, if Gus goes down, who's left? Yeah, you got Hill, but he's not the straight down, north and south guy that you really need. And Keaton Mitchell, I think, has had some injury issues as well. So, and he hasn't really been proven either. So if by some chance Gus goes down, this season looks a whole lot different moving forward. So we have to really kind of hope that we can keep that guy healthy for the remainder of the season. Because if not, could be really challenging moving down the stretch.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes to the point then of it's a lot to give up for Derrick Henry, but Gus Edwards has proven the guy can handle a workload. I mean, he had 19 carries, I believe, on the game, and really hard-nosed yards, especially with an offense that wasn't really firing on all cylinders. I really thought that Lamar Jackson, and I even said take all the overs in his game. I thought he's going to throw for 300 and 400 yards, maybe throw 3 passing touchdowns. He only threw 1. Now, Lamar did have some miraculous plays, and we'll jump into that here in a second. But Kurt Warner brought up, and that we brought this up last week, the Ravens' offense still passing-wise is out of sync. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is Lamar being able to improvise. And I think, actually, Brad, do we have that photo or that video of that touchdown pass?
Yeah, so take a look at this. I'll put the audio up because Brian Baldinger always does an incredible job breaking down these plays. A huge fan of Brian's, but the way that he talks about Lamar is actually quite hilarious, but the play is ridiculous too. Take a look at this.
Watch Lamar go about his business here. Down on the 5-yard line. Ravens down 5-0. Like, he's going to look for his main target, Mark Andrews, right there in the middle of the field. And he can't get it to him because he's got a hand in his face. So he just backs up a step and he makes this throw. Like, how do you make that throw?
That's so
like, how do you just kick your left foot up and just wing this ball and make a perfect throw to Mark Andrews? I don't know how you teach that.
The last little laugh on that was fucking hilarious.
It says it all.
It really does. I mean, when you look at the way that Brian Baldinger broke that play down, it was pretty crazy. And there's a lot of flowers that go around for Lamar, but there's also still like a ridiculous amount of hate for Lamar. And I know that Patrick Mahomes has kind of led this league as far as the face of it is concerned, but man, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit as far as MVP conversations concerned, but Lamar Jackson is just playing out of his mind. And a lot of people thought, or were worried, I should say, about his play after the contract, what have you. This guy is hungry to get a Super Bowl, and it is apparent that that's the case. After the game, he was not really all smiles. It wasn't sunshine and rainbows for him. He was just ready to get on to the next one. Really actually wasn't all that happy with the way the game went down. And I want to kind of turn that to the defense. We've talked about the offense now. Talking about the defense on this game, I still have concerns. And we talked about this last week, I believe, about the Ravens blowing games. And look, the defense is incredible. And we talked about McDonald and how he's been with this defense. And there's been some conversations about, he's head coach material. And I wasn't arguing that, but I was thinking to myself, maybe not yet, because for some reason, and this can't just be a personnel thing, because it happened last year and dating back to last year, the Ravens lead the league in blowing saves in the fourth quarter. What's going on there? Like, why is it that the Ravens defense struggles to blow out to close out games? You have the number one defense in the league as far as points allowed, yards, and many other categories, yet somehow they keep teams in games when it comes down to the end of the game. I just don't get that part, and I really wish there was a way to pinpoint it, and it seems as if the Ravens are having a hard time pinpointing that as well. But I got to go back to coaching. Like, there's got to be some sort of what's the scheme towards the end of the game that for some reason when we're up by 1 million, you still somehow manage to let a team get back and make it a game.
Yeah, I think the common thought of this, at least for me, that the Ravens offense wasn't in sync and the defense forced situations for the offense to score. I mean, 2 interceptions where Geno Stone's it's becoming 3 things in life: death, taxes, and Geno Stone gets an interception, right?
3 straight games now.
Yeah. So what we're talking about and what we're seeing is this defense was being opportunistic. But I understand to the point that you're saying, Brad. The Cardinals ran the ball pretty well on the Ravens for this game. They had 130 rushing yards, I believe, on the day, averaged over 4 yards a carry, and with Josh Dobbs at quarterback. So I think that's where, and maybe in Parker, is this just more also when you're playing a team that's just, you're supposed to beat, sometimes maybe that, not the concentration level, but things drop just a hair.
Yeah, I'm looking at a team going out to Phoenix, getting in the sunny weather, feeling good, feeling like they're about to steamroll this team after absolutely killing the Detroit Lions, who's supposed to be the best team in the league, one of them, and feeling like this D's like, we're good with that bend but not break mentality, which I think is their identity. You just hate to see it against the Cardinals. And I will say there's definitely, I think we overlook sometimes, like when you don't have film on someone, and we'll see this with Tennessee, like once they start to get film, on a guy like Dobbs, like maybe he's a little bit easier to contain, right? But there's a bit of this guy's, going out, proving himself. We might be taking a little mental week off, but I'll tell you right now, Mike McDonald's going to get these guys going. And next game, I think we're going to see some big things. And like you guys said, starting with Geno Stone, who's just been all over the field and kind of, holding up that secondary, which has kind of been a little bit shaky down the stretch in a lot of these games.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Marcus Williams not being able to play, he's battled injuries all year. I think you could argue Geno Stone has been one of, if not the most important player to take that step this year on the Ravens.
Yeah.
Because especially in a situation where, those are very, like you just said, Ryan, those interceptions set up an offense that wasn't necessarily firing on all cylinders,
right?
And put them in that situation where it was, okay, we're giving you the ball on the 20-yard line. You got to make something happen with this. And I will point out, poor Brandon Stevens should have had a 2-interception game, but Geno Stone made the most insane read and blatantly just stole the interception from Brandon Stevens at the end on that one. So tough scene. I know Brandon Stevens even commented on Twitter about it, but tough scene there. But I guess I'll take Geno Stone now leading the league with 5 interceptions.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty good. But so that's a bright spot with the team. The defensive line in general has been fantastic overall. They're doing so many things well. And I think that's always been the question, at least after a big win, do you have a big letdown? To me, this wasn't a letdown. The Ravens defense, they got the win. And we've seen throughout the rest of the league where just when you have things figured out, you get reminded real quickly that just like this, it's changed. Those guys are competitors out there. Even though for the Cardinals, if we look at it this way, they're playing with a quarterback who Joshua Dobbs. I know that they're starting a new one next week in Tune, was just announced if Kyler Murray can't play. But you essentially had a quarterback that hadn't been on your roster until right before the season started, and you're going out there and you're competing and still trying to find a way. But then we saw that, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but the Denver Broncos beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You're seeing some very tough games. Yep. Oh, there's the tweet by Brandon Stevens.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I will say, I don't think we can talk about the Ravens defense yesterday without mentioning Michael Pierce.
Oh, come on.
Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
talk
The big
about
fella.
having a day. I think it was it felt like every single play. It was, oh, -3 yard loss. Oh, Michael Pierce was in it. Quarterback got sacked. Michael Pierce was in it. Quarterback on pressure. Pierce is pushing the line back. It was one of those days where it's very rare that a run stuffing lineman takes over a game, but that's as close as I've ever seen it. I mean, you had a guy who literally I feel so bad for that Cardinals player. That could not have felt good. That could not have
Woof.
felt good.
They're not showing afterwards.
different
but when he
cooking
gets up, he's
pancakes.
like, yo, that was
Just
nuts.
right after it's like a dog pile down on there. Like, hey, get me. Like, geez, I have no words to describe. I just want to say, I'd want to try to move as fast as possible away from Michael Pierce if I saw him leave the ground, and that's what happened there. But he was sensational. Above all, Michael Pierce was absolutely sensational, and that was what the Ravens were missing. People forget the Ravens had him last year, but the only unfortunate part is he was out for the majority of the season for injury.
Very quietly putting together a career year. And another guy, Justin Matabuike, insane. The whole Ravens defensive line showed out yesterday in a game that they needed to, because when you looked at how much the Cardinals were struggling on the offensive line, and then even mid-game had to shuffle it even more, that was a game that the Ravens, if they wanted to take care of business, the D-line had to go do their thing, and they did. And that was exactly what you wanted.
No doubt about that. There's a lot of great things. And also, by the way, everyone, and Parker, we talked about it before, and the Ravens still put up 31 points.
Hey,
They find a way.
talk about that offense, man. I mean, I've been saying this for a while. Actually, what really is still just like in the back of my mind is, and I don't know why, like 2 preseasons ago, we got Likely all over the place. Like, we get a guy like him rolling with Mark Andrews, get him rolling. I mean, we give 89 the ball, good things happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're not even seeing the best of it yet. But yeah, I'm really excited to be a Ravens fan this year. I think everyone is.
Yeah.
I think everyone is.
Without a doubt.
Like you said earlier, Ravens by a million.
Oh, by 100 million at this point.
By 100 million.
100 million.
Heard it here first.
And the Ravens have a very tough schedule moving forward. They have the Seahawks coming to town, and they got Cleveland, Cincy,